Love Lies Bleeding is a film written and directed by Rose Glass that's distributed by A24. Now, I don't know how many of you out there have seen Rose Glass's previous film, Saint Maud, but it couldn't be more night and day when comparing it to Love Lies Bleeding. Not necessarily in terms of quality, but literally everything else. But I loved it to bits and can't wait to dive into what will undeniably be the most controversial and confusing aspect of the film, which is the scene that occurs during the finale. Before I go further, just remember to give this video a thumbs up if you end up enjoying what I had to say about it, and also consider subscribing to the channel. There's a spoiler-free reaction type video I put out there if you want to hear my general thoughts on the film as well, and also if you'd like to be part of a community where you get to interact with me and other film lovers around the globe that enjoy films like Love Lies Bleeding, consider joining my Discord server for only $5 a month on Patreon. Now with all that pathetic shilling out of the way, let's dive into that scene. So let me just start off by saying that Love Lies Bleeding is a film that I loved for a lot of different reasons. But the main one being the fact that it just came off so incredibly authentic, gritty, and raw. Everything just felt so unhinged and unfiltered, including the depiction of sexuality, which I thought elevated the intimacy of the film, which therefore enhanced not only the romantic connection and chemistry between the two main characters, but also the genuine and personal connection the audience feels towards the characters and their entire romantic dynamic. Overall, as I said before, the film does feel quite raw, but there is an element to it that feels kind of sci-fi-ish and surreal and almost Cronenberg-esque in terms of how it exaggerates the capabilities and normalities of the human body. And the scene that takes place during the finale is the hyperbolic exercise in that style of filmmaking. But please keep in mind that this film just came out, and as much as I always love to use visual reference clips from the film, I really won't be able to do that because there's just nothing available right now except for some screenshots and some of the trailer footage. So I'm going to be doing my best to compile all these different types of footage available to me, to make it visually interesting as I speak about it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and begin this essay by simply reinstating the sequence of events that occurred during that crazy finale. So Lou unties Jackie. Jackie resists Lou due to distrust. Lou explains everything, and they eventually embrace and rekindle their relationship. They then try and escape by enacting a plan that causes them to go separate ways. Lou gets put into a hopeless situation where she is shot and cornered by her father, and this is precisely where shit starts hitting the fan. Just when it seems that Lou is about to succumb to the death grip of her father, Jackie, in Hulk-like fashion, literally turns into a fucking giant. Jackie pins Lou's father down and gives Lou a chance to get revenge for all the trauma and anguish he has put her through. Instead, she takes the high road and just leaves him there. We then get a beautiful shot of what seems to be both Lou and Jackie running through the clouds as giant versions of themselves. The very next scene, they are back in the car in their normal versions as if nothing ever happened. Narratively speaking, that about sums up what happened in the ending. There's a lot of intellectual questions that arise with this bold move for an ending. Like, what in the actual fuck? How in the actual fuck? And most importantly, why in the actual fuck? So I'll do my best to give the most nuanced interpretation I have that can hopefully provide some insight into all those questions. Now I have a feeling that there will be plenty of people out there who will have a more literal explanation for what happened. I mean, I don't know for sure because this movie is, again, brand spanking new and I have no idea what people are saying about the ending, but I have a hunch that some people will suggest that the film literally took a huge left sci-fi-ish turn to where she actually did grow that size. I mean, after all, Jackie was taking weird steroid-type muscle enhancers the entire movie, and there are plenty of times where we physically see her muscles morph and fluctuate like it's straight out of an 80s Cronenberg body horror film. So I can see someone coming to the conclusion that with all the drugs pumped into her system combined with the intense emotions she was feeling, she transformed into a muscle mommy giant. Personally, I'm choosing to view it through more of a surrealistic lens, in the sense that what we see on screen during that finale is simply a stylistic choice from Rose Glass to use exaggerated dreamlike imagery in order to amplify thematic ideas and the emotional state of the characters. Surrealism is used quite often as a tool by many artists to serve as a hyper-extension to the reality they've crafted in order to illustrate either abstract or more literal symbolic reflections of emotions and themes. A good example is from a film I've seen recently called The Lovers on the Bridge, directed by Leos Carax. There's a scene where both main characters, who are both homeless, are absolutely hammered drunk and laughing hysterically on the side of a bridge. And there are bottles and other objects around them that are now somehow gigantic and life-size, creating this warped image of reality. It's a great example of surrealism being used as a way to showcase a symbolic expression of alcoholism, while also elevating our understanding of their state of mind through the imagery. And I believe that is exactly what is happening here with Love Lies Bleeding. Now granted, it's a little tricky here because the surrealist element of her being giant is directly interacting with Lou's father, who seems to be clearly baffled and overpowered by her strength. But one, I think Jackie can manage that without being an actual giant, and two, I also think the entire scene could be an exaggerated and unreliable depiction of the events as well. Considering that we see both Lou and Jackie as giants running freely through the clouds in the very next scene, that kind of gives some weight to that idea. It's also one of the reasons why I prefer to not take their physical growth literally, because if it was due to Jackie's steroid use, then Lou couldn't have been a giant along with her. Or Rose Glass just said, fuck it, this shit is not meant to be made sense of at all, and I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I want here, and that would also be something that is incredibly based. But personally, I think the most interesting element to discuss here is why did Rose Glass choose to end it this way, and what the hell does it mean? What's the purpose of any of it? Well, here's what I think. Love Lies Bleeding, to me, is a feminist piece of cinema about two women that fall in love and are desperately trying to overcome the men in their life that are oppressing them. Lou feels like she can't escape her hometown because she feels obligated to stay there for her sister's sake, who is constantly putting up with severe domestic abuse. She is also stuck because of blackmail from her father, who forced her to murder somebody in the past. But bear in mind that Jackie was actually quite free and without much problems before she met Lou. Besides her having some implied family conflict back home, she lived and wandered on her own quite fine without much attachments or obligations. It wasn't until she fell in love with Lou that all of her problems became hers as well. So even though Jackie is to blame for basically all the conflict that arises in the film, she is ultimately Lou's hero. She's her hero because despite all the burdens and all the near-death experiences, she gave Lou the opportunity to finally free herself from the men in her life that have been oppressing her and forced her to be a stick in the mud. So with all this context we've now established, the reason why Rose Glass took a leap into surrealism with this ending is because a giant macho woman serves as a piece of symbolism that not only represents a heroic figure, but amplifies the idea of female empowerment. It's a gargantuan image of female empowerment, as well as the way that Lou is currently viewing Jackie's character, which is a goddess-type hero assisting her and sacrificing herself to rid all the male figures in her life that have caused her so much trauma and turmoil. Which is why when they leave together, they are now both giants running freely amongst the clouds. For Lou, this is the first time in all of her life that she feels free, empowered, and obviously giant. And that's essentially my interpretation in a nutshell. Again, I haven't really talked to very much people at all about the ending in terms of what they thought it meant or just their general thoughts about it. So I would love to hear everybody's thoughts in the comment section, just about what you got out of the ending, how you feel about the ending as a whole. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you just kind of meh about it? And how do you like the film overall? Personally, I obviously love this film. I can't wait to watch it again. But that's about it, everybody. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about that scene and the ending to the film in general, please give this video a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.